Greetings to the audience at large. Welcome to the Forbidden Fruit. My name is ANZANIA and I'll be today's host. So, as per usual, we are living in crazy times. Crazy times because crazy people have their hands on arguably the most powerful instruments that humanity has ever created. And they're all pointing phallic symbols at each other. It's a very strange situation and dilemma that we find ourselves in as a species. It's like from throwing rocks at each other and clubbing each other to death to supposedly being a spacefaring civilization with some degree of space capacity. Our monkey behavior seemingly hasn't changed very much. We are still monkeying about trying to understand our way through this universe. And I've always marveled at the crazy chasm between the great minds that have come before and everything they've stated, everything they've proposed, everything they spoke about, and how a great deal of humanity just outright either rejects it, ignores it, or just does not give a fuck about it. And so for me as a young person looking at global dynamics and even internal dynamics within my particular country, I am just baffled at how in the age of global connectivity we're still having the problems that we are having. Back in the day you could have argued that language barrier, communication barrier, but right now I don't even think that's the case. I don't think communication is a barrier per se. I think the form of communication that's happening in some shape or form has been degraded by our basically miniaturization of our world into these little smart mirrors we call our smartphones. Like, we have condensed all our reality and everything we think we understand about the world into black mirrors. Be the television, where a good portion of humanity still receives its information and programming, hence television, always telling lies to your vision, or smartphones, but ironically making humanity dumber at the same time. So you look at these technologies which have been developed, and as someone who uses them or participates with them on an everyday basis, I cannot ignore the ways in which they have improved or made life better. But simultaneously, I cannot also ignore the ways in which they've eroded social cohesion and just how human beings fundamentally perceive each other and the world around them. We have got to a place whereby we have all created, or rather there has been a creation of a catered reality to each segment of the population. As a result, we're all just drowning in our own little cesspool of understanding, and the collective vision is somehow being blurred. And at the backhand of all of this is corporations, nation states, intelligence organizations, who all have incentive to tip the scales in, so to speak, their favor. And so there's a whole degree of manipulation that's going on in regards to the media we see, the information we're fed, just everything. We are just living in a psyop. It's just one giant psyop. And once you really see it for what it is, and you see the results of it in day-to-day living, it becomes disturbing that this is just rudimentary technology. Like, we are very capable of far greater than what we know we are, and what we are about to unleash on the world in regards to tools of creation and whatnot. It's a genie, once it's unleashed, can never be put back in the box. We've already reached a weird stage in our evolution whereby even though some people are living and arguably the best times to be a human being. Simultaneously, we have people who are also the most miserable, living in that same domain. So, it becomes clear that making a human being comfortable in the material sense is not the end-all be-all of our existence. And in fact, us solving the material problem in regards to our surroundings, warmth, food, comfort, entertainment, it may result in what Friedrich Nietzsche called the lost man, whereby we are devoid of any willful action. Instead, we are these automated, entertained, drugged up, zombified pieces of flesh that are basically, as the elites would put it, useless eaters. And I foreshadow a scenario whereby a good portion of the population will be subjected to some reality of that nature, simply by looking at how people behave right now with phones. Like, there's some people who are all the way gone, just deep in their phone. Like, they have literally relinquished all relational ties with the material world. They are the building blocks or the foundational steps for the digital man. I've often echoed that us people who were born in the 1900s, so to speak, 19th century or 20th century, but 1900s for the most part, we are the nine. We are the last of the organics. We are the last of the organic human beings. And I'm not saying it has to be this way, but from what I'm seeing, the evidence is becoming shockingly obvious to me that we are the last of a dying breed, in the sense that our experience of having grown up in a time whereby technology had not overridden the human experience, whereby there was still room and space for naturalistic experiences. People actually did stuff outside the house, like as kids, like we made stuff, we flew kites, we played marbles, all I'm saying is I can see a trend, and with each passing generation the trend becomes more obsolete. Like, when you look at the young kids that are born today, their inclination towards phones and technology is unquestionable. Like, they don't even question it. It's like it's a part of their nature. And honestly, it makes sense, because they just grew up in a reality where they are of the assumption that that's how things have always been. But lucky for some of us who've lived long enough to know that that's not necessarily the case, and that indeed humanity is moving towards a very pivotal moment whereby we're going to have to decide on what it is we choose to become. It is true that we are part, some form of primate, but there's also the divine aspect of us. And what do I mean by divine? By divine, I mean our ability to consistently transcend our assumed limitations. That ability is never ceasing. It's always unfolding as humanity goes. So now I worry that when we get to a point in our evolution whereby we can dictate our evolution to such a point where we can change our physical makeup, what does that, are we saying we're done with the wetware? Are we saying we're done with human biology being in a carbon meat suit? And again, who concluded this? Did humanity come together in a large congregation and say, yes, this is the direction we wish to take forward. We wish to proceed in this direction. Transhumanism is the shit. And, we want to become cyborgs. I was never invited to that meeting. Grew up reading a whole lot of sci-fi, watching sci-fi. Read a lot of Isaac Asimov. Was into who's this kid? Artemis Fowl. I was into Spy Kids. So, I was really invested in technology as a young person. And I felt like I rode the wave of technological advancement as best as I can, given my economic position, given where I was born, and so forth. But it's been a fun ride. But now that I'm older, there's a lot of things I look in retrospect and I ask myself, if I knew better, could I have used my time a lot more efficiently, a lot better? And then it begs the question for those who are growing up now within this era of technology is, it is a mesmerizing machine, but it is a machine, meaning input, output. What you put in is what you get out. So it could be a tool for your salvation, a fire in which you use to cook your food, or it could literally burn your whole fucking house down. And not just your house, the whole neighborhood. The whole neighborhood part is, what scares me. When I start seeing mass psychosis in the form of digital viruses that formulate themselves as ideas or trends or common repeatable behaviors across the internet, it becomes scary when you recognize that just as there is the possibility of good ideas spreading, which with a large ferocity, the possibility of bad ideas spreading, taking momentum, and becoming mainstream is just as possible. I think we often underplay that subversion can happen, and it may not happen in the way that we always suspect that it will. But within my lifetime, I've seen people literally go 360 within, or 180 within their decision making, and just turn tails and join the opposing side purely because of manipulation of information. So now, knowing that, it boggles the mind that we as a people, we as the people, whatever the people is, knowing what we know, having witnessed history, having a good portion of the annals of history at our disposal, we're at this important juncture in the human story, are willing to give arguably the most powerful weapons of mass control, mass perception, mass communication. We are willing to leave these tools in the hands of corporatists, corrupt governments, and intelligence agencies. Really. Because they have such a tremendous track record of championing humanity, right? So when you see the whole world teetering, or rather leapfrogging towards fascism, totalitarianism, globally, it stops seeming like a coincidence and stops seeming more like a coordinated move to move the world in a very particular direction. And this is precisely what I'm saying is, we may have solved a lot of problems by creating, the Tower of Babel and increasing our capacity to share information with one another, but we've also created a vulnerability in the sense that now they can get to us all. With one hashtag, that virus idea, that virus notion could get to all over the world. And you can see humanity do some ape shit. And again, human history is testament to the fact that human beings occasionally go ape shit. So, I just think we live in a very interesting time. I'm glad to be alive to witness it, to be a commentator. As George Carlin once said, when you're born into this world, you're born into the clown world, the weird world. And some of us, we are put here just to have notes, take down notes, observe, say, this is what I see. Oh, this could be improved. Other people are here to revel in the experience, while some of us, we are just here to observe the madness and say, yeah, we were here to see it, we done it, we know about it, we told them it's gonna go this way, and it most certainly did, and yeah. So, while I may be optimistic that human beings, because we are human beings, we will eventually figure this out, I'm very much skeptical of the people who we are handing over power to. It's all fun and games, until we're all on some Palantir watch list, having to live off a digital currency, with them having the ability to just turn off our money. It's fun and games right now, but once they gridlock us in that system, it's gonna be hard for people to break out. And I think that's what they're planning to do. It's like, you must understand, this war between the people and the elites has been going on for countless generations. So for them, they've got to a point in their evolution where they're looking for a final solution. And with this specter of technology, they feel as though they found it. It's the perfect Trojan horse. I mean, think about it. We willingly buy these phones, we allow them into our houses, and literally we're giving the world or some anonymous entity access into our living space, and most importantly into our grey matter. The space that really matters. So it's an interesting time indeed, and we'll see how things proceed. But it's pretty apparent that humanity has to make a choice, and we need to start self-defining and individualizing who and what we want to become, or else I fear that choice may be already made for us. So I say that to say this: have faith, be prepared for the worst case scenario, work towards the best case scenario, and hope for a beautiful scenario. But be prepared for the worst case scenario, though. Tad bit of a warning. And Xenosaurus out.